Hello, it's Grandma Ray. I love children, I love books, and I especially love reading books to children. In this video, I am recommending and reading Mr. Seahorse. It's by Carle. He did the pictures and the words. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. There they are, Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse. It's time for me to lay my eggs, she said. Can I help? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Oh, yes, thank you, said Mrs. Seahorse. And she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. I'll take good care of our eggs, said Mr. Seahorse. I promise. There they are. She's laying her eggs and she's putting them in a pouch on his belly. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. So there's the patch of reeds, and there are the trumpet fish behind them. Pretty cool, huh? But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Stickleback? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Delighted, replied Mr. Stickleback. I just built a nest, and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch. Keep up the good work, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There we go. There's Mr. Stickleback. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Well, there's the coral reef, and behind it, there's a lionfish. Isn't that cool? He blended right in. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Tilapia? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs, and now you're taking good care of them until they hatch. Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. You must be very happy, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There you go. Mr. Tilapia has the eggs in his mouth. Different fish do different things with their eggs. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Well, there's the seaweed. Can you see the leaf fish? Maybe if we move the seaweed out of the way. There we go. There are the leaf fish. That's a good place for them to hide, isn't it? But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Curtis? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Perfectly fine, replied Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have stuck them on my head. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch. You're doing a good job, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There we go. He's got the eggs on his head. I didn't know that fish did that. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stonefish hidden behind a rock. Well, there's the rock. Let's look behind it. And there's a rockfish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Pipe? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Couldn't be better, replied Mr. Pipe. Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch. You should feel proud of yourself, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There we go. Mr. Pipe, he puts the eggs on his belly. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Bullhead? Asked Mr. Seahorse. "Tip-top," replied Mr. Bullhead. "Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs and the eggs hatched. Now I'm babysitting." "You're doing a fine job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There we go. They didn't have eggs. They had little baby fish. The time had come for the Seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. "Oh no," said Mr. Seahorse, "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." My goodness, they were just born and they're ready to be on their own. Human babies aren't like that, are they? That was a fun book. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll join me again sometime. If your parents want more information about the book, or other grown-ups in your life, maybe your grandma, maybe an aunt or uncle, maybe a neighbor, they can find that information in the show notes. Bye-bye.